Hey, Foot Clan. Today we are going to jump into some matchups, but before we do that, want to remind you about Squad QL. You want an unfair advantage to dominate your fantasy football league? Well, look no further than the Squad QL mobile app. It's all you need to crush your friends and rivals this year. Squad QL recommends the best starting lineup for each week based on your starters, bench players, and free agent pool. Head to squadql.com. Grab the app for free. Again, that's squadql.com. Download the app for free.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the Playdraft Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Let's get the show on the road.
Let's go. We're already into the weekly rewind. Let's go.
I was concerned about Jason. You probably can't see it on the YouTube because of the majestic intro graphics. Jason was like taking a macro nap over here and then woke up right when the intro's going on.
It's all right. I'm awake now.
Neither of us had an ordinary start. I was very close to sneezing throughout that entire intro song.
Did you look at the light?
What does that stop it or does it start it?
I think that makes you sneeze.
I think the old wives' tale.
Actually, no, it came from it was a mustache whisker. You understand that, right?
Oh, believe me, my mustache does not all grow down. In fact, I call it the eyelash mustache because many of them grow vertically.
Do they ever intertwine with the nose hairs? Does it grow up and just...
I cannot confirm nor deny that has ever happened to me.
Welcome to the podcast, the Fantasy Footballers, Andy, Mike, and Jason, back once more. You can find us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. Great show today, the starts of the week, the fantasy forecast, the week 3 matchups. A good quick question. Brooks is in the building, taking care of us over there behind the camera. How you doing, Brooks?
Oh, I'm great. And you left out everyone's favorite segment.
Oh, my goodness. I apologize. Jason's Boom Boom Kicker on the show.
Yep. Put in a lot of work this week, guys.
Now, I know it would be like an inefficient amount of our resources to try to do this, but I would really – we should probably try to get a kicker to actually come on the show and be personally interviewed by you each week. But then you have like kind of questions that are somewhat condescending, but maybe they can't pick up on it.
I would just ask, what's it like to be in the NFL now that kicking is more irrelevant?
Right. No, that would be a good way to go.
Ask the Chargers kicker how relevant kicking is.
Oh my goodness,
it's very relevant, my friend.
Man, that look on his face reminded me of Robert Aguayo.
I was gonna say, ask
Roberto Aguayo.
I mean,
yeah, it's irrelevant until it's very relevant.
It's the lonely kicker, man. You remember the Adam Sandler song?
I told you before he missed the kick that if he misses this kick, how do you get that out of your head?
I don't know.
Way to start a career.
Yeah, that sucks. All right, let's transition to the quick question. Who's under the most pressure to perform in Week 3 for fantasy owners?
You should have gone with, speaking of pressure.
Under pressure.
I'm going to go with Younghoe kicker for the – no, I think that there's like a tie here for me between Eli Manning and Andy Dalton. You have two teams that were legitimately considered deep playoff contenders. The Giants, if you're in New York, can they contend for a Super Bowl with Brandon Marshall and the offense together, this elite defense? And they're both 0-2.
Why'd you have to bring him up?
And
Brandon Marshall.
Yeah. They're both 0-2, and both quarterbacks have looked really poor. So I think there's pressure on Eli and on Dalton.
I will disagree with you from a fantasy perspective. I think that you made the perfect NFL case for who has to perform for their teams this week, but I don't think if you are a fantasy owner –
I did not realize that I was answering the question in that way.
Oh, were you really?
Way, yeah.
So you did – okay, so it was who can perform in Week 3 for fantasy owners, but you're right about them in the NFL sense, and that will have a trickle-down effect on – Odell Beckham Jr. and Brandon Marshall and Evan Ingram and A.J. Green and all those players.
Well, then I'll throw one other name out, Hunter Henry, because we've had one game where he stayed in line to block. Now he goes, Houston is one of the best pass rushers in the game. Are they going to use him to block, or are they going to use him like they did last week? I'm really curious.
From my understanding, Hunter Henry actually, his performance is directly proportional to his ownership percentage. If it gets really low,
That's when he goes off?
He's permitted to catch passes, and then if you start him,
you jerks.
he gooses Mike.
Yeah, he goosed my caboose.
Yeah.
And gave me the goose egg.
Mm-hmm.
I'm throwing out I'm going same teams here. Joe Mixon. There's been an offensive coordinator change. Fantasy players drafted him in the 3rd round, knowing that you're likely going to have to wait. But now actual fantasy is going on, and teams are 0-2, and they're going, my running back that I drafted in the 3rd round is not even getting snaps. He's not getting touches. Will Captain Laser fire up Joe Mixon and give him the touches that he needs to perform for fantasy?
There are a lot of desperate owners hoping the answer is yes.
People are dropping Joe Mixon. I've received tons of people on Twitter like, Joe Mixon's on the waiver wire. Should I spend my number 1 priority to get him? And my answer is always yes.
Yeah.
But that's where we are. Through 2 weeks, people are already dropping Joe Mixon.
Yeah, I mean, you might have, if the offense was performing, but the snap counts were the same, you'd be like, all right, here it comes. But because they've struggled and Andy Dalton has stunk and they haven't scored, you're like, oh no. The problem is people spent high picks on him.
Yep.
So I think he's actually the hardest player to trade for in fantasy football, because if somebody's waiting, it's kind of like Christian McCaffrey too. You spent a high draft pick on him. McCaffrey is one of my 2 nominees for this under pressure to perform. The other one's Isaiah Crowell. Both have great matchups in week 3.
That's a good one.
Both are outside the top 24 right now in terms of running backs, and both have great matchups. So if the wheels fall off for these guys this week, then you're going to have desperate fantasy owners. You're going to have people wanting to know, do you drop them? I think Jonathan Stewart could have a great week this week as well. There'll be lots of debate. So there's some pressure.
Did you see Crowell talking? He was asked about, is he thinking about his contract?
Okay.
No, I didn't see that.
He was like, is this a distraction for you, or just are you thinking about it? And his answer was basically 100% of the time he's thinking about it. I mean, like, he went verbatim of saying, I think about it at practice. I think about it when I'm playing. I'm like, whoa.
That could be good, right?
Hasn't been for 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, as the carry counts go down for Isaiah Crowell, he's probably saying, yeah, can I get that offer back that you had before? So, all right, hey, our week 3 rankings are up on the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. They will be heavily polished today and through the weekend as we get more injury news, as we get more depth chart news, and apply that to our rankings. They're always changing and being updated, but you can check them all out over there. You can also get access to the premium projections and flex ranks and an extra show and stuff at jointhefoot.com as a way of rewarding those of you who choose to support this podcast. You guys want to talk some news?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
News and notes from around the league.
The first piece of news comes from Mike Wright's dream and relates to this first one. He had a dream. Eric Decker had 80 yards and a touchdown, and lo and behold, Corey Davis has been ruled out for week 3.
You had a dream that Eric Decker had 80. I have no doubt that you have that dream every night.
He was fully clothed.
Okay, that's step 1.
No, I legit, like.
Welcome into the show, new listeners. Mike has a history of
he's a handsome gentleman,
praising Eric Decker for his good looks.
Number one, Eric Decker dreams that's not normal. Just want to clarify that. 2, Jason is the dreamer of the show.
That's true.
I mean, he has had
several.
We call him Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
Because not only does he wear a multicolored coat,
that's all I wear,
but he also has these football visions. So this is the first. We'll see. We'll see if I've been
80 and a touchdown.
Been gifted.
You don't get this on any show. You get it right here. The dreaming Miss Cleo over there,
and a Technicolor Dreamcoat reference. I mean,
so the news in there is that Corey Davis has already been ruled out. It's disappointing. Jordy Nelson, big news here. Practicing fully for week 3, expects to play, avoided a major quad injury. Everybody breathe a big sigh of relief on that one, whether you're an Aaron Rodgers owner or you're a Jordy Nelson owner. Evan Engram, concussion symptoms, was limited at practice, put in the protocol following the Monday night game. As a precaution, they think he'll be fine. He is somebody that is creeping into the you might start him
He certainly
category.
is. Certainly is. In our dynasty league, I have Charles Clay, and he's kind of been, my low-end tight end one starter. But I have Evan Engram, and I'm to the point now where I will have to make a weekly decision of, should I play the rookie?
Right, just
Which
based on the
sounds
matchup.
madness.
All right, let's move on here. This is a disappointing piece of news to me. Todd Bowles says it's too early to tell if Austin Seferian-Jenkins will be active. ASJ was one of those guys that all of the news, all of the time was positive all off season, and I feel like you were just, ready to buy into ASJ, and now they say he's out of shape, needs to get into a little bit better shape. We don't know if he'll be active. You got to wait and see with ASJ. He'll be free for you because nobody else is probably paying attention to him. So I would give it a week.
The one thing I'll say is that all the Jermaine Kearse takes over this last week talking about waivers, those have mentally been including Austin Seferian-Jenkins coming back and not having Jermaine Kearse be,
alone.
Exactly. The only NFL receiver on that team. So if ASJ is not out there, I think this gives a slight bump to being able to play Kearse again this week.
All right, nobody in football has played more snaps than Ty Montgomery in terms of the running back position. 139 snaps, 16 more than the next running back. He's a guy who, if you look back at his history, he's been banged up. He's had some injury concerns. A report out of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel yesterday said that the Michael Cohen expects the Packers to lighten the workload. What do you think about Montgomery's long-term prognosis, because he's been downright amazing so far?
I'm firing him up as if that doesn't matter at all. I mean, he's getting Le'Veon Bell levels of snaps. I mean, most running backs are not out there for 90+% of the time, and that's what Montgomery is doing. So even if he comes down to the 70-75% of snaps, he's still on the best offense. He's still the guy on that team. So maybe one of your owners, your league mates, is freaking out over this. This is not moving the needle for me.
Okay. Any other news that you guys want to get into before we talk about a little bit of these practice reports?
You can just throw out a couple names of, like, DeMarco Murray did not practice on Wednesday. You need to monitor that situation. Terrence West did not practice. It was reported that he had that soft tissue injury, so Buck Allen would be all systems go, and Alex Collins becomes a flex-worthy type of a situation. And, of course, Jordan Reed. I love Michael
Did
Keaton.
not
hate Jordan
practice.
Reed.
Yeah.
And also, I would throw out, so Jordan Reed was not at practice, but Rob Kelly was practicing in pads at Wednesday's practice, so that's good news for his
Rob
outlook
Kelly,
for this week, and bad news for all the people desperate to start Samaje Perine.
I'm one of them. I'm laughing because Jay Gruden's quote about Jordan Reed is just too funny. Speaking Wednesday, Coach Jay Gruden said Jordan Reed is, quote, not healthy right now.
Yep.
He says that quote is just every day.
It's
Monday,
like,
Tuesday,
it's
Wednesday,
like Memento.
Friday.
He just has it tattooed on his body.
Yep,
Just,
so he
in,
can
just in
That's
case
so
I forget.
disappointing and frustrating.
Yeah, it is.
Tyler Eifert not practicing either.
Are you good? What do you? I've been getting a lot of questions about Tyler Eifert. What's your Tyler Eifert
I'm
status?
starting Tyler Eifert if he's healthy
Okay.
and fine. If he's not, you don't. But
do you drop him?
That's what I'm
if
saying.
he's not
People are saying,
practicing?
do I move on?
I wouldn't. I mean, this is a guy who averaged more points per game than Gronkowski last year in Gronkowski's super year. When he's healthy, he's a superstar. You just have a team that basically they've stunk. He had a touchdown called back due to being a penalty. He was targeted towards the second half of that game. You got a new offensive coordinator. The case for look, you cannot find tight ends anywhere. Not
I
of
agree.
that.
I would,
not
I
of
would
that level.
absolutely hold him. It's
like-
the same thing with Jimmy Graham. If he was out, if he
I
was
would say
dropped by
the Jason
someone else,
litmus test here. If they're on the wire, would you pick them up?
right?
Then don't drop them.
That's a great way to
think
put it.
about yourself in another league. If he's available, then you don't drop him.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into the forecast, and then we'll get into the starts of the week.
Fantasy Forecast.
All right. Your once-a-week reminder, if you've got a Thursday night player in your flex,
Get him out of there.
take him out of your flex, put him in one of your starting restricted position spots, running back, wide receiver, whatever that might be. You don't want to lock yourself into that flex position when you don't have to. It gives you more flexibility.
Oh,
The Ravens.
I was going to make the joke if you didn't.
I should have let you. All right, the Ravens take on Jacksonville in London. This is an early game, 6:30 in the morning. So us West Coasters, you get to wake up, roll over, and there's going to be Javorius Allen in my face.
I have to set an alarm. For goodness sakes, on Sunday morning is ridiculous.
I'm fine with it. All right, Jacksonville is they're 3.5-point underdogs in London. So this game is obviously neutral site. And what do we think the fantasy storylines are here? Is Javorius Allen in line for kind of the best fantasy production on the Baltimore side? And then what do we expect on the now struggling offense for the Jacksonville Jaguars?
I see both teams here trying to run the ball. I would take the under, even though it's a very low over-under at 40. You've got two fantastic pass defenses on each side of the ball and two teams that have been run on a little bit this year. So, I think it could be a good game for Leonard Fournette, a good game for Buck Allen. I'm not really wanting any of the pieces in the passing game. We talked about this on the waiver wire show, right? Your Allen Hurns could be great. Marquise Lee could be great. We're not sure who the main target replacement is yet for Allen Robinson. And while I want those guys, I'm certainly not playing them against the Ravens. Someone might have a good game, but I'm not going to. I mean, the process says you don't start those unknown commodities against such a great pass defense.
Here's something very interesting. When you look at the percentage of a team's target shares at the wide receiver position through the first 2 weeks, and shout out to TJ Hernandez who threw the chart up on this, Marquise Lee is like number 5. But the production hasn't been there whatsoever. Hopkins far and away number 1 with almost 48% of the targets last week in Houston. But Marquise Lee has had the targets. Hurns with the production last week. I think it just adds to you're not really going to get that one right. I don't think you really want to play with that fire unless you are desperate or it's a deeper league.
Benjamin Watson, you gonna play him?
Benjamin Watson, I think, is a guy, if you're in a full PPR league, I think you can play him.
Okay. All right. Let's turn to the Broncos-Bills matchup. It's in Buffalo. Interesting that the Bills are only 3-point underdogs in this matchup. I think it speaks to how they've played on defense thus far and obviously being the home team. But I guess I expected this line to be the gap to be wider there. 40.5-point over-under says that, they think this is going to be a more low-scoring game. We've talked a lot over the past 2 days about Trevor Siemian. I think you can go back and listen to those, but the gist is that Mike and Jason kind of disagree with the streaming viability of Siemian this week. Buffalo hasn't given up any touchdowns through the air through 2 weeks, but has only faced Josh McCown and Cam Newton. The Broncos,
2 of the worst.
We know their D is outstanding. Push comes to shove here. The Broncos' run defense against LeSean McCoy, you're not really benching LeSean McCoy, so.
And this year has been a lot different. We're small sample size, but Denver was very beatable on the ground last year. So perhaps they have turned everything around, but I'm still playing Shady with full confidence.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no way you bench Shady.
No, the volume is outrageous.
He'll have bad games from time to time because everyone does, but you have to just keep plugging him in.
You do not start another player on that Buffalo team.
I
do not start Charles Clay.
I think
either.
you can start Charles Clay. That's the only guy that I would be willing to start Charles Clay in that matchup. On the other side of the ball, I almost made C.J. Anderson my start of the week. He has been getting carries that fantasy owners drool over. I mean, you're talking 20 carries, and he's looked great. I mean, you've had some of those classic C.J. Anderson runs. The thing with C.J. Anderson that we have never liked about him in redraft leagues is injury. Is he going to play the whole year? That's the tough thing. But if you've got him this week, he is currently healthy, and he has been great.
I'm going to circle back to Charles Clay because I don't think you'd actually start him.
Oh, okay. Tell me why.
Well,
I think I would.
Okay, but here's my problem with starting Charles Clay is that he hasn't had enough games in a row, to where he's a reliable option. You don't have him ranked in a position where you would start him. I mean, I was going to give you some names here. You're starting Hunter Henry or Charles Clay.
Hunter Henry is.
You
that
have him
one's
ranked.
tough
You
because
have him ranked much higher.
I've got him ranked much higher because I see his upside as extreme. I mean, his upside is great this week. The problem is if they bring him into block like they did week 1. So he is a boom bust type. That would be a roster thing.
Right, but Gronk, Kelsey, Ertz, Rudolph, Walker, Doyle. Do you start him over Bennett against Cincinnati? I probably don't start him over Bennett. Don't start him over Ebron, Reed, Henry, Graham, Fleener, Witten, Cook, Miller.
But now you're getting into the streamer position. I think that's all he was talking about. Is
if you need
guys you're grabbing off of the waiver wire right now to play.
Yeah, and there's a
start
lot
Ubble.
of there's
Start
a,
Ubble.
there's
Not
a
that
lot
you would.
of a lot of players who this last week lost the tight end. They lost Greg Olsen. They lost Jimmy Graham. They
Right.
lost Tyler Eifert. And I'm saying Charles Clay.
Yeah.
Look what Jason Witten did against them last week. 10 for 97 and a touchdown. Charles Clay
comeback.
is the main piece for the Buffalo offense in the passing game. It's the only one Tyrod Taylor has a rapport and a trust with. So I do think if you have to pick someone up off of waivers, Charles Clay.
Would you start him over Watson? Like, because we just talked about Watson. Which would you rather lean with this week? Watson against the Jaguars versus Clay. Maybe some people are facing
I think
that
I would
decision.
rather go Clay because we saw his involvement last year and this year, whereas Ben Watson's had one game where he stepped into the role we hope he has.
Okay, cool. We'll
yeah.
move on to the Saints-Panthers.
Saints-Panthers, before we do that, huge shout-out and much love to one of the sponsors of this show, Pristine Auction. If you want signed sports or entertainment memorabilia that you know is authentic and is actually signed by the celebrities or athletes that you want, they have a new service now, too, where if you get, one of the unframed jerseys, that they will actually frame it for you. It is awesome. If you ever come to the Footballer Studio, you will see tons of framed jerseys that Mike has. Mike is always on there, and he is winning these jerseys for pennies on the dollar because it's an auction system. You can just bid what you want, and if it gets outbid, don't worry about it. You don't lose any money. It doesn't cost you anything to bid. It doesn't. You only spend money if you actually win the item at the bid that you chose. So you got to check them out. Well worth it. Great gifts as well. Pristine Auction, Pristine auction.com.
All right. We also want to thank Harry's, longtime great sponsor of the show. I can personally endorse Harry's as I've been using Harry's razors for the past several years. They're just $2 a blade compared to the $4 that you pay for those other guys at the drugstore. But it goes beyond that because the shave is actually great. I'm not just going to save money and then cut my face up. These are great razors. These are smooth. This is a smooth shave, and I've loved it. I've used it for years, and it becomes a part of your routine. Obviously, as a man, every day shaving. Love Harry's. They're so confident that you're going to love their blades that they're giving you their free trial set. Just cover the shipping costs. So your free trial set, here's what you get. You get a weighted ergonomic razor handle, 5 precision engineered blades with a lubricating strip and trimmer blade, rich lathering shave gel, and a travel blade cover. That's a $13 value for you to try. And look, stop messing around. I'm serious, guys. Stop messing around.
Stop it.
Start shaving with Harry's today by claiming your free trial offer, a $13 value for free. Just cover the shipping. To get that free trial set, including that handle, the 5-blade cartridge shave gel, go to harrys.com/footballers right now. That's harrys.com/footballers. All right. Let's go ahead and let's get into that Saints-Panthers matchup. And I want to know a lot in this game. I want to be taught. I want to understand. I want to see if Michael Thomas can have a big boy game. I want to see if Christian McCaffrey can finally have a breakout game. I want to understand what Cam Newton's going to do against a passing defense that is currently ranked 32nd in the league. What are you guys looking at from this matchup? 46.5-point over-under. Panthers 5.5-point favorites.
The first thing I'm looking at is Cam Newton is treading into completely unknown waters. He is playing without Greg Olsen. And this is not something that Cam Newton has done with any type of regularity. I mean, Greg Olsen is a 95 to 100% snap type of guy. He is always on the field. He has always produced for Cam Newton. What does this team do now that Olsen is out of the picture? And I got a few questions on Twitter. Why did you guys mention Ed Dixon as a pickup for the waiver wire show? Because because it's not going to happen for Ed Dickson.
Yeah, I mean, I think it. I actually think it could happen. So I don't want to say that. We've seen Ed Dickson be valuable in the past, and he'll have that role, but he's not just a plug and play Greg Olsen replacement.
Okay, exactly. So my biggest question here goes to Jason.
Yo.
As the resident Devin Funchess truther, for some freaking reason, you keep supporting this guy.
Yep.
Why?
Devin Funchess, he's been, to be fair, he's getting snaps.
Yeah, I think
this year,
and
now Greg Olsen is gone, and Kelvin Benjamin's a little banged up.
8 targets last week, 7 or 8 for sure. Had a decent game. This week, the opportunity is there in a plus matchup at home. Bad defense. No Greg Olsen.
Sleeper action from Jason.
A sleeper action would definitely be would be Devin Funchess. Now, I believe Kelvin Benjamin steps up. We got to monitor his health because, he was a little bit banged up. We'll talk about him in a little bit.
7 targets, by the way. So he was 4 for 68.
Yeah, 4 for 68 last week on 7 targets, and now Greg Olsen is out of there. I think he is a definite sleeper candidate. He's the type of guy to me where if you're doing DFS and you want a tournament play, low ownership, cheap, affordable, could have a big game.
Let's, Mike. I want to put you. I want to ask you, Jonathan Stewart versus any of the starting running backs for New Orleans
for the Saints.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's a really tough matchup for the guys on the Saints. I think I would still play Engram over Johnny Stewart. I mean, Stewart's snap counts they're trending the wrong direction for me. And meanwhile, Mark Ingram has been a usable guy, especially in PPR. He's a running back too. He's getting 5 to 6 receptions a game. And Jonathan Stewart was 15 for 40 last week. So I would play Ingram over Stewart. I think that the upside is there. They're shifting to Christian McCaffrey. Stewart was only on the field for under 38% of snaps last week.
I would play Stewart over Ingram, and I'm an Ingram truther. I really believe that the Panthers defense is legit. We don't know for sure because week 1 and 2 was the Niners and Buffalo.
That sounds like a lot of dump offs.
That you're making the point here that we don't know for sure because of their matchups. I hate it. I mean, the Saints have been pitiful, but their matchups have been Minnesota, where Bradford was just slicing and dicing, and then the Patriots. So they faced the inverse situation. You wonder if maybe it's a little more balanced.
Do we need to double down on the?
No, we don't need to double down on the Saints Super Bowl. Mike, you understand, we have transitioned that into that they will eventually win another Super Bowl.
They are future Super Bowl champions.
Yeah.
2029.
Double down. You can double down all you want. I'm taking my money out of Vegas on that one.
All right.
The Steelers, the Bears. The Bears are 7.5-point underdogs at home, 44-point over-under. Big Ben versus Big Glennon. So what do we really hope for in this matchup?
He's very tall.
He's enormous. He's enormous.
Very tall.
He looks like he could toss several hay bales.
What if him and Brock teamed up?
How tall is he?
Mike Glennon?
He's enormous.
How tall are
Have you ever seen
giraffe sized?
Yeah, giraffe. Yeah, have you seen a giraffe?
He is 6'6".
Yeah.
Oh, I see the photo. He is a giraffe.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
That's not what I was inferring, but okay. But Mike Glennon, Brock Osweiler.
Giraffe Glennon, you mean.
My gosh. Do you realize the amount of
wallpaper? I mean,
light bulbs.
The list.
Air filters that are in the ceiling.
Gutters.
Oh,
my
very
gosh.
valuable people.
They take over the gutter business.
All right. So football-wise.
So football-wise, we are not nice. Jordan Howard, one of the biggest disappointments in fantasy football.
He was limited in practice, which puts him on track to play if you're already practicing on Wednesday.
Do you buy into the Tariq takeover?
I buy into Tariq being awesome.
Yes. I don't think he's going to take over the running back position, but I buy into Tariq Cohen being just an absolute 100% startable piece. He is leading the league right now in targets to the running back position, and he is –
I believe it's second – Wait, is he second in receptions or targets? I told you guys about this. That
I
he's tied with
believe he
Brown.
is first in targets, maybe second in
I'll check it
receptions,
out.
something like that. But the nice thing is you're pairing that with this extreme talent. When you see him with the ball in his hands, he's so fast and quick. He just beats guys to the corner. I think he is a valuable asset to their offense and to any fantasy team. I mean, I would start Tariq Cohen in most situations.
Mike, give me a rest of season thought on Martavis Bryant compared to where you were before the season began. What is he rest of season? People ask that rest of season question a lot, so I'm posing it to you here for Mr. Bryant.
I think he's still a wide receiver too. He'll be. I mean, he's a weekly start that sometimes will be disappointing, but then the other games he just absolutely explodes, and maybe it will be as easy as you see. It's a road matchup. Okay, maybe I won't play Bryant. Maybe there's a better option on my bench because he's going on the road. But we're still too early in the season. He's just getting reacclimated to the offense. So I'm still very comfortable playing him against the Bears.
Jason, would you start Martavis Bryant against the Bears on the road, or would you rather take Terrell Pryor on Sunday night against Oakland?
That's great. Those are two guys that I spoke a little ill of in the offseason. And of those two, I would definitely take Terrell Pryor. I think Kirk Cousins.
Who would you take?
Terrell Pryor!
Just making sure.
I think Kirk Cousins could have a bounce-back game this week. It's hard because he might not have Jordan Reed, but Oakland's defense isn't that great, whereas Ben Roethlisberger on the road is not usually the touchdown-throwing machine. Martavis Bryant is very touchdown-reliant usually, so that's where I would easily lean towards Terrell Pryor. It's not to say that Martavis couldn't have the better game. So staying in this game, I think the best answer to the quick question today would actually be Le'Veon Bell, who has the most pressure to perform. If he goes to Chicago and puts up a dud after 2 dud weeks, for Le'Veon Bell.
It's so amazing that it's a multi-teen week is a dud for Lev Bell.
Yes.
But I get it. And people want Lev Bell. They don't want Lev Bell.
Yeah, I mean, they want a guy who's going to finish the week number 1 or number 2 at running back, and that's how he's ranked this week. I think in all of our rankings and in most experts' rankings, you're expecting a monster week. So if he goes out there and puts up a dud, I'm going to be trading for Le'Veon Bell.
I was going to say you're going to see the value drop. The Falcons take on the Detroit Lions. 2-0 matchup here. Both teams 2-0. Lions 3-point underdogs at home in a 50.5-point over-under. I've been personally very impressed with the play of Matthew Stafford just from an NFL perspective through 2 games. Slow start against Arizona, but since he got it together in that matchup, it's been lights out managing that offense. Amir Abdullah had his career high in rushing yardage last week against the formidable Giants rushing defense. I think it was, a great sign for Amir Abdullah's ability to produce fantasy-wise. You'd love to see him get in the end zone. But what kind of decisions are we facing this week in this matchup where inevitably we're expecting a lot of fantasy points?
Yeah, this is Vegas has it over 50 total points scored, which means it's pretty juicy for fantasy options. I think with what you've seen out of the Falcons offense, still performing.
They're still humming.
No, they're humming right now. I will grant them that. You're going to also have the Detroit Lions offense have to pick it up. I know when we get to our starts of the week, each one of us actually picked a Detroit Lions, so hopefully the Lions perform, and I expect them to. If I had a Jason's almost upset of the week, this would be the game where I think that the Lions are going to give the Falcons a lot of trouble. And whenever a team gives another offensive powerhouse team trouble, well, then they just keep going back and forth scoring. I think this will be a shootout. I want pretty much every piece I can get on both sides of the ball. When you're talking about Mohamed Sanu or Taylor Gabriel, those are guys that I think you could start. But I would rather start
Taylor Gabriel.
I would rather start J.J. Nelson over either of those guys, for example.
No doubt about it. I think my take on this game and those starts of the week would have been severely impacted by Vic Beasley. And him being out for a month now, what we saw from the pass rush was very impressive. against Green Bay, but it changed when Vic Beasley went out. Matthew Stafford should have enough time at home to get the job done. So you're looking at Marvin Jones, you're looking at Golden Tate, and then Kenny Golladay. Mike, would you flex him in this matchup with such a high over-under?
Yeah, he's worth considering a start, but again, he's still not a top 2 option in the passing game. He might not even be top 3 with when you factor in the running back. So it's a lot of all or nothing for Kenny Golladay right now.
Speaking of nothing, the Browns take on the Colts
Nice.
this week in Indianapolis. 40-point over-under. Colts are 1-point underdogs at home against the Browns, which may be the saddest statement that has ever been registered.
They're at home
in the
against
year
the
2017.
Browns, and they are underdogs.
Yeah, they're underdogs.
Oh, man.
Deshaun Kaiser, Jacoby Brissett. There is a massive cap on the offense for Indianapolis. Mike spoke of it last week when he pumped the brakes on the entirety of the offense. I mean, Jacoby Brissett is leaps and bounds better than Scott Tolzien, and whatever the opposite of he's still so far away from Andrew Luck's production, it's not even funny. So Frank Gore, very productive last week. What are you guys looking at here? Are you starting Jack Doyle in this game? I mean, he seems like the one guy that you can actually trust right now in this offense.
No, Jack Doyle is a great start. The trend of start all your tight ends against the Browns is continuing, and Jack Doyle was actually competent with the beef brisket throwing him the ball. So I'm very confident starting Doyle. I've picked him up in not only our league of record, I picked him up in my money league, and I will be playing him in both spots.
I love Jack Doyle this week, but I also I mean you touched on him, but Frank Gore is to me pretty much a must start. I mean I think Frank Gore is locked and loaded. He's going to get the work. He has looked good so far. The Browns, you might have thought after week 1, they shut down Le'Veon Bell. Maybe they had like a wizard cast a spell that their running game could get better, but no, they didn't, because last week against Baltimore, you saw Buck Allen, Terrence West. I mean, to the running back position, 29 total carries for 130 yards and a touchdown.
Are you taking air? Are you going to take air with the Crowell on the other side of the field?
Yes, I want Crowell. I want Frank Gore. Both of these guys have good weeks this week.
Crowell would have been the second candidate for my buy low yesterday from DeMarco Murray. He said he talked to Hugh Jackson about his lack of carries. Hugh wants to get him the ball. Wanting to and being able to is different, but Isaiah Crowell is a starting running back, the starting running back on this team. He's young, he's talented, he's got the opportunity. This is the make or break game for Isaiah Crowell. Yes. So I would rather get him, much like even Christian McCaffrey. I'd rather get McCaffrey or Crowell right now at the price right now, because I think he goes up next week. And so that's my perspective on those players.
It's tough with Crowell because he had a pretty good year last year, and then you have this off season. Coach Jackson, oh man, I should have gotten Crowell the ball more. I know I got to do that. I got to do that, guys.
Do it.
Okay, so give him the ball. No.
Did you see that Pete Carroll said in his rose-colored way that he wished that Eddie Lacy could have been active this past week?
I did not see that. Oh my goodness.
What? That's just mean.
You know you're the one who controls that, right, Pete?
Is he just saying, I wish we could have 60 active players? If we could have 60, he would have been there.
I just wish. I wish I could. That's what it's like with, oh, man, I wish I had a way to give Isaiah Crowell more carries. Are you the coach of this professional football team?
Guys, I don't call the plays.
Out of my hands.
It's out of my hands. There's nothing. There is nothing I can do.
No, I sure wish I hadn't put him on the inactive list.
What?
Yeah. All right. Two more guys from this game that I think I'm willing to start, one of which was almost my start of the week. And I can tell you, if we did our starts of the week on Friday and I knew for sure the status of Vontae Davis, really good cornerback for the Colts, if I knew he was out, then Higgins, the wide receiver for Cleveland, I think he's going to do work this week. I really do. I'm confident to start him if Vontae Davis is out. And so, as a streaming option, I think Deshaun Kaiser, if Davis is out, is a serviceable option.
Here's the biggest annoying question you have to ask in now week 3 of the fantasy football season. With that being said, Rashard Higgins, he was a target monster last week. Do you start him over T.Y. Hilton or Dante Moncrief?
Oh, yeah. Ooh, I start him over Moncrief because I'm done with him. Moncrief, you're you're benched until Andrew Luck is back. Moncrief. I can't wait for him to be able to slap that base and score touchdowns again, but that will not happen until Andrew Luck is back, apparently.
Slap that bench.
Yes. Oh, I like that.
Slap that bench.
Slap that bench.
It's a lot more thunky than funky.
I want to.
Funky.
I would start Rashard Higgins, but if I lost my matchup with T.Y. Hilton on my bench, it'd be a difficult mental exercise the remainder of that day.
Yeah,
and maybe a year.
I don't know that I would start him over T.Y. I think T.Y. is still they're both good. Oh, man, I hate this, man. Andrew Luck, come back. It's such a shame to have good players.
Did you have any dreams, Mike, about Rashard Higgins? Maybe something that can give us some insight here.
No, not
a psychic,
nothing on
huh?
Higgins, and I think that Higgins is a good wide receiver. I think he was a great pickup for this waiver wire run. And I guess, if you're ever going to play Higgins, this is a very good matchup to do it.
All right. Well, here's the deal. We've got one more matchup to go through, and then we're going to do our starts of the week, guys. Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers take on the Minnesota Vikings. I'm not throwing a line out there because a line doesn't make sense right now, not knowing what Sam Bradford's status is. And really, that's what this entirety the big storyline here is, does Sam Bradford play? If he plays, he's at home. If he's at home playing, we've seen what he's capable of with Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, with Dalvin Cook, with Kyle Rudolph. What is your kind of ranking adjustment that you're making with these players? Do you start any of the pass catchers in Minnesota if Sam Bradford is on the bench and it's Case Keenum at home against a very formidable overall defense in Tampa Bay that played from ahead last week? And so what do you think?
I think you can still start them. Last week it was on the road against the Steelers. I didn't want anything to do with it. Keenum's first start. Let him get some actual real – I guess he was technically practicing to start last week, but just some more time. The fact that you're at home, I respect the Tampa Bay defense, but I think that their corners can be beat. So I'm okay, far more okay this week playing Diggs and Thielen compared to last week.
See, I look at Tampa Bay, and I think that their pass defense is better than their rush defense. If Case Keenum is playing, I'm probably not starting Diggs or Thielen. It will be nicer being at home for Keenum, being able to call the plays out and be heard, but I just don't trust it after what we saw last week. What did Diggs have, like 2 receptions?
Yeah.
And he's a volume guy, so I have a hard time starting him if Sam Bradford's not there. Running-wise, Dalvin Cook, we'll talk about him in just a minute. I'm all in.
Okay. Jaquiz Rogers was Mike's pump the brakes this week.
False.
He was mine. I pumped those brakes.
Okay. I don't know which one of you is which.
I know, we sound the same.
I don't know
apparently.
One of you guys did it. Benched him.
Wasn't me.
Okay. Jaquiz, though, you want to sit him down. Tough matchup. The Vikings right now are the 11th ranked run defense. We know how formidable they are. They're at home. And you're saying the matchup's just not – it's not juicy.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't bench him in all situations. If you've got him and Joe Mixon, I would wait a week again to see on Mixon. Hopefully this is the week, but at least the volume will be there for Quiz. The problem is on the road against the Vikings, I don't know that the efficiency will be there with the volume.
Now,
one last question. Oh, okay.
I'll say I expect Xavier Rhodes will be covering Mike Evans, and Rhodes is a monster. He's a shutdown guy. This is not a bench Mike Evans question. This is
my question was going to be, what is Deshaun Jackson?
Exactly. Is Deshaun Jackson a must start in this situation because you expect him to be playing up against Trey Waynes? I would start him. I
must start is too relative for how down in the rankings he is. So I would say I would start J.J. Nelson over Deshaun Jackson.
Right. I would as well.
Against Dallas. So that's where my line would be. I would start Martavis Bryant over Deshaun Jackson.
Okay.
But I do think that he's one of those flyer-worthy players this week. I kind of want to know, what is he going to be? I don't know yet.
Yeah,
new team, second fiddle for the first time in the last few years. I don't know what he is.
I would start Deshaun Jackson over those other players we were talking about where it's like, okay, the T.Y. Hilton, and Dante
Higgins?
Moncrief and Higgins if Vontae Davis is there, then I would take a Deshaun Jackson guy over them.
All right, let's get into the starts.
Starts of the week.
All right, I'll kick it off.
Kick it
With my quarterback, Matty Stafford.
Oh,
At Atlanta, we talked about the matchup. No Vic Beasley. He's been very solid. I'm impressed with him. He has weapons. And the thing is, last week, only started in 43% of leagues. The Giants matchup, I think, was intimidating. He didn't have like an impressive fantasy day yardage-wise. Still got it in the end zone. The opportunity to put up much larger yardage numbers, the need to, is going to be there in this matchup in Atlanta. Controlled environment. Really like Matthew Stafford this week, so I think you can start him with confidence.
My start of the week is a guy that will be my pump the brakes next week. It is Derek
nice.
Carr.
That's calling your shots.
Derek Carr, I love this matchup. So does Vegas. Vegas has this as a 54-point over-under at Washington. It's a nighttime, primetime game. The weather is supposed to be 75 without wind. I mean, you're talking perfect setup here for a monster game. Derek Carr has shown this year that he is a legit great quarterback, and you've talked about this before, Mike. When he has good matchups, he takes full advantage. He struggles a little bit more when he's in division against those Chiefs, against those Chargers, against those Broncos, which happen to be 3 of his 4 next games, and the 4th in there is the Ravens. So get a good game and sell him.
Fun fact, every quarterback in the AFC West has finished in the top 10 every week this year.
Oh, my.
So Carr, Smith, Simeon, Rivers, all top 10 quarterbacks, both week 1 and week 2.
That is a fun fact.
It is, isn't it?
That's so fun.
All right, my start of the week. I'm doubling down because he's my stream of the week. Smoking Jay Cuddy.
Wow, we're going smoky and snapback.
Yep.
Man.
We're playing the deplorables. And
How did I miss this, by the way?
Send in the car. Send
Thank
in the
you.
car.
I apologize.
Send him in this week.
Yes, thank you for apologizing. But Jay Cutler, the Jets giving up the 3rd most quarterback points, and that includes a game against Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor got it done through the air against the Jets, so I have full confidence firing up Jay Cutler. I'm streaming him all over the place.
Get some big Devontae Parker plays?
Quite possibly.
Why don't you just let's go wide receiver.
All right, so I'm going stack. I'm going stack attack right here with Devontae Parker, an average depth of target of 19 yards with a 27% target share.
That's nice.
That is a recipe for success. He gets to take on the Jets just like Jay Cutler, which is, not a coincidence since they're on the same team. I get here's my one word of caution. Morris Claiborne. Maybe he can play football because he was up against Amari Cooper last week. He was a lot of the reason that the ball just kept going to Michael Crabtree, and Claiborne is likely to be on Devontae Parker. That's not enough to scare me away from starting him because the target volume is there. The big plays are there. The touchdown upside is there. I love Parker. I tried to trade for him. Brian, you suck.
That was a shout-out to our league.
Yep.
Very nice.
I hope he's listening.
Jason, who do you have as your wide receiver start of the week?
I've got a reluctant Kelvin Benjamin. Look, Kelvin Benjamin, he was involved last week.
What? It's called the starts of the week, man.
The essence of the start of the week is to emphatically put your stamp on somebody.
Well,
do
then
you need to make an audible?
No, well, my audible would be Keenan Allen. I'm all in on Keenan Allen. If you're afraid of the Kansas City Chiefs, don't be. I think Keenan Allen is too integral to that offense. But I am still sticking with Kelvin Benjamin. 6 for 77 last week. Greg Olsen goes down. They're at home. They're against a beatable New Orleans secondary.
Whoopable.
So
Not just beatable,
the
whoopable.
whole thing here is just Kelvin Benjamin's health. So I will just throw in the audible where if he is limited later in the week,
Devin Funches, got it. Jason's start of the week.
then it would be Keenan Allen.
I'm going to go with J.J. Nelson. Yeah, he was one of my favorite pickups last week. I'm going to give him my start of the week this week, offensive player of the week in the NFC. And look, it's it's a shambles situation for offensive opportunity in Arizona. David Johnson's out. And you're talking about Chris Johnson getting the start. He's not a pass-catching weapon. Larry Fitzgerald's been underutilized for whatever reason. In a great matchup last week, only 3 catches. And J.J. Nelson has the ability to get behind the defense, to do 80% of what John Brown can do in the offense from a route perspective. And I think that there's a rapport there with Carson Palmer. So it's one of those, I'm putting him in my lineup. Maybe I don't love the name attached to it, but I think you're going to love the production again this week.
Trevor Siemian made that Dallas secondary look the fool.
Yes, he did.
So I love it.
And that game's at home in Arizona, so I like that as well. I'll go ahead and give you my running back this week. It's Gilly.
You're darn right it's Gillisley.
Mike Gillisley. And the reason
Gilly.
the reason he's allowed to be a start of the week, maybe you say, oh, he's an auto start. Look, you're probably intimidated by that Houston run defense. You also probably got Mike Gillisley, 5th, 6th round. Maybe you found another option. Maybe you drafted another player that you're thinking about starting there. Maybe you signed Javorius Allen and you're going back and forth between Allen, who I think is a good start this week, and Gillisley, who's my start of the week. I don't think you need to be afraid. Last week, he had 18 carries in a game that they were in control of. Houston, I'm starting the Patriots defense in this game. I don't think they're going to be able to move the ball at all. This is, they took 10 sacks against Jacksonville, and Houston was gashed by Fournette in that matchup with Jacksonville. So I think Gillisley is going to be the wear-down running back in this game. And you know what? I bet he scores a touchdown again because that's just
a pretty good bet.
what
Yeah, that's
Gilly
a
does.
really good bet. And I would have expected you to call for the double up for
Yeah.
the 2
Ooh.
touchdowns. Gilly would have been my start of the week. I love it. He's favored by almost 2 touchdowns at home. I always love those running backs.
I don't know this.
Do you know that reference?
Oh,
No.
you don't? It's Saturday Night Live. It's great. We
Yeah.
got to get a drop of that.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. My start of the week is Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook, you might be a little scared because of the Sam Bradford situation. I am saying I'm starting Dalvin Cook regardless of the Sam Bradford situation. If Sam Bradford doesn't play, Dalvin Cook will be just fine. He was very effective last week against Pittsburgh. He had, I think, 8 of his 12 runs were for 5 or more yards. He's a very good running back, and they need him. Now he is at home, and he's at home in a game where Tampa Bay, I think that, like I said earlier, I think they've got a very good pass defense. I think that they are beatable in the rushing game, and since they are traveling to Minnesota, I like him. I'm willing to start him everywhere. I think you got to get Dalvin in your lineup. If you're him and Hahn, don't.
Small update on Bradford. Practiced again on Thursday, so things are trending in a very positive direction. So I would like if you had to get our take on whether you think Bradford will play. I think he's going to play this week. And then small note earlier, Evan Engram is practicing as well.
Oh, very nice. I will jump in here with my running back start of the week.
Bold, by the way, but I like it.
I love this pick.
Theodore
Roosevelt.
That would be a bold take.
That would, yeah, but tougher.
He hasn't seen a snap in 50
Years.
years. Theo Riddick, and I love the matchup. You have 2 strong offenses, but Atlanta can be beat by pass-catching running backs. I mean, I don't know why Rodgers didn't exploit this more, but you saw as soon as Montgomery started getting some targets, then it was absolutely dominant, and you saw James White annihilate this team in the Super Bowl. Theo Riddick has been great. He's catching passes. He's getting runs as well. I mean, he's getting actual carries. Theo Riddick is a great start this week, and he's lower on your bench, but I'm starting him with confidence.
I like it.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all. I think that Matthew Stafford, your start of the week, is going to have a great game, Andy's start of the week, and you think in the running game it's going to be Theo Riddick catching the ball. I'm going in the passing game with the tight end start of the week is going to be Eric Ebron. Eric Ebron, he had a bad week 1 against the Cardinals, a good defense, came last week and had a really good game, had a touchdown. His yardage, you look at it and you go, oh, he had, what was it, around 50 yards?
I think he was 5 for 47 or something.
Yeah,
in
I think
touchdown.
47. But, I think there was only 122
passing
yards for Stafford. I mean, his volume and the way they used him gave me confidence. I think if this game, like we hope, is a shootout, I think Eric Ebron can be started. Now, all that said, I struggled finding this one this week because the 3 guys that I just loved way, way more, 2 of them were your guys' start of the week, and the third, I just can't do it. Zach Ertz, my man, he should be every week.
Yeah,
he's taken out of
starter.
consideration because he's a weekly starter. And so, if you've got any of these guys, start him over at Ebron.
I'm going with Jack Doyle in that matchup against Cleveland. The
Yep.
only real piece I think you can start in the Indianapolis offense.
Frank Gore.
Yeah, Frank Gore as well. Jacoby Brissett, the brisket.
Beef brisket Brissett.
Hot sauce with Doyle.
Delicious.
Yes.
Look, you saw what the report was last week. Doyle was kind of the outlet guy, the guy that, I wrote
It's so hard to say Brissett.
I wrote brisket down in the notes for the joke, but now I just am reading it over and over again. But Brissett was he's more elusive. He's able to get out of the pocket. He's able to extend plays and find Doyle. And you saw this last week. So I think Doyle's a really nice baseline tight end in a sea of injuries.
Yeah, give me
I
that
love it.
barbecue sauce.
All right, my tight end start of the week is Jared Cook. I'm doubling up here with Jason, who loves Derek Carr. Jared Cook is getting at least 5 targets a game, and Washington has given up over 100 yards to the tight end in both weeks.
So we got 2 cooks in the starts of the week kitchen.
You got to do the cooking by the book.
Yeah.
Get that brisket.
And get
That
Jared
Jacoby
Cook.
brisket.
So these guys we've talked about, like Clay, and you're let's say you were holding out hope for Eifert and you missed the run on the waiver wire. Jared Cook is probably there, and I think that you can pick him up and start him and get low-end tight end 1 numbers this week.
All right. I think we have one more segment.
Oh, no.
Jason Moore's ironclad, locked and loaded, 100% guaranteed boom boom kicker of the week.
Look.
Jason, this is a bold take here, not because of the fantasy production, because I want to hear you
Yeah, me too.
say this guy's name.
Giorgio Tavecchio.
Oh, man.
No, that's a letdown.
That was
All right.
probably right. Somebody practice.
No, you're saying that, and then everybody from Oakland's going to go, dude, that's not how you say his name. Look, he's
That's
the
not how
replacement
people
for
from Oakland sound.
He's replaced Janikowski. He's looked every bit as good. The reason that I'm picking him is, look, the weather's going to be great. It's going to be prime time. It's a huge over-under, and if you watch, I mean, literally every single time he kicks the ball, it looks like the most perfect kick, splitting the uprights right down the middle like a scalpel, and distance. He's
What now?
A scalpel?
Yeah, I'm saying it's like
man.
surgical.
Scalpel?
Wait, scalpel is not right.
A
Scalpel.
scalpel is
It's a scalpel.
the medicine or the medicinal knife.
You are talking about the knife,
I
right?
am talking about the knife.
A scalpel.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Wait. Say
Are
it
you
the right
cor-
way.
Is this 35 years being undone right
yes.
now?
This is. Well, because
You're missing an L. Scalpel.
scalpel.
Yeah.
Like scalp?
Yeah, I
And then
get
it's
you.
O.
I like scalpel better. Because I was
Scalpel,
thinking, like,
it sounds
when
like
when
a
you,
drink.
When you ask for, well, you're thinking of Snapple.
I know.
But when you ask like scalpel,
Right through the uprights like a Snapple.
all right.
Right through.
There you go. There's the boom boom locked and loaded kicker
So
of the
just no. I want to circle back real quick.
week. Okay.
You like him because he kicks it through the uprights. That's what the take was.
I
But
like
no,
it.
like a scalpel.
like
through
a
the
scalpel,
The middle.
right through the
Surgical
middle.
precision.
Surgical
By the way,
scalpel.
Mike, just so you are aware, your take about Teddy Roosevelt taking a carry 50 years ago, he died 100 years
he
ago.
died.
So
I'm aware that Theodore
This was
Roosevelt's
we
Zom-
want to keep things accurate here.
this
Mike.
was a zombie level carry, is what I'm saying. It was zombie Teddy.
Zombie
Well,
time.
let's just go ahead and end the show on that note. Thanks for tuning in.
Teddy Roosevelt will get it done.
I'm
on the
sure.
football field.
No
That's
doubt.
all I'm saying.
play with us on PlayDraft at playdraft.com/ballers.
And thanks for everybody supporting the show, subscribing. Check us out on YouTube. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.